In my last video, I talked about just how bad Jordan Poole has been thus far for the Wizards this season and how him trying to be like Steph Curry has ultimately backfired. And in a fair amount of the comments in that video, a lot of people had mentioned the same could be said about Klay Thompson, who is off to a very slow start for the Warriors. And while yes, this is true, and I think it's all but clear, Klay is reaching that point in his career where we will see a steep drop-off and decline. At the same time, though, Klay Thompson is 33, turning 34 this season. He's had 2 major injuries in his career that he has truly never recovered from. And regardless, Klay Thompson, 4 championships, multiple All-Star selections, he's a future Hall of Famer. And so while I agree Klay is having a lackluster start to his season, what's more shocking to me is just how awful Andrew Wiggins has been to start the year. For a player who is in his prime, recently signed a big contract extension with the new contract going into effect this season, and just how much his play has negatively impacted the Warriors in the early going of the season. A Warriors team who more than likely has one last shot at a title with this current core, and it's what we'll be talking about in this video. But before I get into that, I am super excited to announce that we have a new sponsor that is going to be sponsoring the channel for the entire NBA season, so you're going to be hearing more from these guys, and that's Underdog Fantasy. We've partnered with Underdog in the past, and I absolutely love this platform so much just because it's super easy to use. And if you're like me and like making predictions and maybe want to make a little money on the side, then you're going to want to hear this offer from Underdog. As I've said before, the offer aside, Underdog Fantasy is truly the easiest fantasy sports app to use and navigate with their user-friendly interface. My personal interface that I use on the app is NBA Pick'ems. They have higher or lowers on most players' stats for any game. Just pick higher or lower on whether you think Jason Tatum, as an example, is going to score more than 28 points tonight, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night if you do 5 Pick'ems and get them all right. And guys, they're offering viewers of this channel an exclusive offer. If you use the code AND1HOOPS, all one word, you'll get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Who doesn't want free money, right? It's really that easy. And of course, it's a great way to support the channel. I'll leave a link to the site and the code in the description if you're interested, and let me know what picks you guys end up making. Now, Andrew Wiggins has been such an interesting player coming into the league because people forget Andrew Wiggins was being touted as one of the greatest prospects of his generation, the greatest prospect since LeBron James, and how every team should be looking to tank for him before he even started playing college basketball. He was the #1 high school recruit in 2013, the #1 overall pick in 2014, and while he had a solid rookie season, ultimately won Rookie of the Year, there was just something about him that, while extremely talented, didn't seem to have the drive and motivation to be this next level superstar that most scouts were thinking that he would be. And every year in Minnesota, he was good. He was actually a very good NBA basketball player, a great scorer, although not the most efficient. But where he really lacked was on the defensive end, and his lack of defense and void of showing signs of true progress of taking that next step of being a star-level player. And with the Wolves seeing the rise of Karl-Anthony Towns, they decided to move off of his contract, a max contract, by sending him to the Warriors for D'Angelo Russell, who were looking for someone who would better fit next to Steph Curry. And Wiggins coming to the Warriors completely revitalized his career. They focused on his development and turned him into a solid two-way player, tremendously improving his defense and being much better suited as a second or third option, and of course benefiting from playing alongside the superstar player that Steph Curry is. It's a lot easier to generate offense when defenses are so focused on Steph and Klay Thompson. Wiggins would eventually go on to be selected to his first All-Star team, even though it was a pretty questionable selection, but a first-time All-Star, and he would go on to help the Warriors win their 4th title, arguably being the second best player on that title team throughout most of the season. And as a result, Wiggins got paid. And rightfully so. A 4-year, $109 million contract for his level of production and impact was actually a really good deal for the Warriors, unlike the one they gave Jordan Poole. And thus, Wiggins was being viewed as this player the Warriors could potentially use as a franchise cornerstone, and a piece that they could continue to build with while the core 3 of Steph, Klay, and Draymond were starting to age out. And ever since signing that contract extension, Wiggins has really struggled to either remain on the court for health reasons, or when he's on the court, he's looked like a shell of the player he once was. But so far this season in particular, Wiggins has been especially bad, borderline to the point that if this wasn't one of your key pieces that helped you win a championship just a few years ago and one of your highest paid players, you would probably see him getting benched for his poor performance and effort on the court and his negative impact to this team. The Warriors currently, at the time of this recording, are 7-8. sitting 10th in the Western Conference. And for a team that really views themselves as a title contender going into the season, this is not the start that they had envisioned. It's still early, and they have the ability to right the ship as time goes on, but in the early going, it's not looking good for this team, who have really struggled to generate offense even when Steph is in the lineup. And while it's easy to blame guys like Klay Thompson or even Draymond Green for being a bonehead and getting himself suspended, those guys not playing well, yes, it is a factor in the Warriors' poor start. But for Andrew Wiggins and his part, a player who is younger than the big three, has normally been relied upon for his scoring, he's been nothing but disappointing in seeing such a steep drop-off in play for a 28-year-old player. Andrew Wiggins is currently having the most inefficient season of his career, more so than his rookie season, shooting just 42% from the field on over 11 attempts per game, and a putrid 25% from deep, and shooting it on much lower volume than he has since his second season in the NBA. A true shooting percentage, 47%, which also is a career worst. Bottom 4th in the league as well among qualifying players currently. He's sporting a negative 6.6 box plus minus, the worst of his career, and get this, a negative 17.4 on-off rating per 100 possessions. The Warriors have been 17 points worse with him on the court versus when he's off. He's been ineffective in getting to the paint and getting to the foul line, can't hit a three to save his life, and has also been turning the ball over at a high rate compared to his overall usage. What's also baffling is Wiggins is shooting near 50% at the free throw line. Guys like Andre Drummond are shooting better than him from the line. Like, no one's expecting Wiggins to step up and be the star player or suddenly have this breakout year with the Warriors as their players are getting older. This is his 10th season in the league. We know who he is and what type of player he is, but never would we have expected this kind of drop-off going into year 28 season for Andrew Wiggins. And yes, this is probably overreacting to extent because it's only 15 games into the year. All players go through bad stretches, and some have early season rust to shake off as they get back into the feel of the game in a new season. But it's one thing to have a poor start like this where you're really struggling to find your shot. To me, what's more concerning is Wiggins' demeanor, body language, and more or less not looking like he really cares half the time when he's on the court. And so it makes you question if something else is going on with Wiggins personally that is impacting his game, which we know there's a lot of speculation and rumors on bits of his personal life, which I won't comment on because we don't know how accurate they are. But if I'm the Warriors, I'm very concerned with this abysmal start to the season from Andrew Wiggins, because as much as this is Steph's team and as critical as the other guys and Klay and Draymond are to the overall success of the squad, the Warriors desperately need Andrew Wiggins to be focused, locked in, if they want to even come close to sniffing a championship. Because they most certainly don't win that title in 2022 without him, and they don't stand a chance of even making a deep run in the playoffs with him putting up these kind of stinkers that we've been seeing. And if we're being honest with ourselves, if we keep seeing this level of effort from Wiggins, the Warriors may want to consider moving him in a package deal. Yes, they would be selling when his value is at its lowest, but the Warriors don't have time to mess around. They traded Jordan Poole for parts because they knew they were going into their last dance and Poole was going to negatively impact the team with his play. If we see the same thing coming from Wiggins, might be time to move on from him as well for this last push to get Steph, Klay, and Draymond one last championship. Let me know what you guys think of the Warriors' piss-poor start to the year and what the Warriors should do about their current state of the team. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.